I beg to move this House has considered improving transport links in Nottinghamshire. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, and I thank colleagues who have come to speak in the debate today. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to debate this issue. I'm glad to see members from neighbouring constituencies in Nottinghamshire for what's an important discussion at perhaps a helpful time, given that tomorrow we'll see a new man in number 10, and perhaps an opportunity to make the case afresh for better transport infrastructure out there in the regions of the United Kingdom and to rebalance our economy. Can I also welcome the comments and suggestions that have been passed to me by my honourable friends and members for Sherwood and Newark, who I should say, for the benefit of their constituents, because of their government positions, aren't able to speak in debates like this, but have been very involved in discussions with myself about some of the issues I'm going to raise later on in my comments. I plan to cover railways, road junctions, congestion and all sorts of many other issues that obviously all require government support and funding and various other things to add to the great list for the Department of Transport to deal with. Mansfield is the largest town in Nottinghamshire. It requires improved transport links to neighbouring areas if it's really going to flourish. And we need to boost the local economy. Many people see Mansfield as a commuter town to travel to Nottingham or Sheffield, but we don't have suitable transport links necessarily to do so. I'd like to start by discussing the extension of the Robin Hood line as part of the East Midlands franchise. I'm pleased that the new franchise holder will have to make a business case for extending the line. It's a big step forward after a long campaign, and these local lines need to be upgraded and extended rather than just focusing on big national projects. I think, regardless of the value for money argument, I fully recognise the potential positive impact of HS2 on Nottinghamshire, particularly if we can link up the north of the county with the hub at Chesterfield, as well as the city and the suburbs with Towton. Without those east to west connections that we discussed in a previous debate here just a few weeks ago, we won't make the most of the economic potential of HS2. If the Robin Hood line was extended to Ollerton with trains at Shirebrook, Warsop and Edrinstowe, there will be huge economic benefits locally. Extending it would mean improved links for my constituents to jobs and to tourism across North Nottinghamshire, the ability to attract new employers to sites at the old pit, sites at Thoresby and Welbeck across the north of the county. The ability to attract employers to sites like that comes from efficient access to major motorways, to railway services, and in the longer term it would end just short of the HS2 hub at Chesterfield and potentially offer huge growth and jobs to all of North Nottinghamshire. While I'm on rail, I'd like to take the opportunity to also highlight the Midlands Rail Hub to the Minister, championed by Midlands Connect, who I met just this afternoon. It's £2 billion of smaller improvements, but that will lead to more passenger trains, more freight trains across the Midlands in key areas. And they've worked in an odd way, in a collaborative way, which is very unusual with Network Rail, which is really pleasing to see. And they need just £25 million to continue to drive that forward and make the proper business case. So I hope the government will support that as we go forward. But yes, the Robin Hood line is the most significant railway project that would help improve things for my constituents. When it comes to roads and junctions, I'm afraid, obviously, I have many more asks of government in this area. We all know many towns across Nottinghamshire and elsewhere are gridlocked by huge growth in housing and traffic on roads that simply weren't meant to take it. There are pinch points that cause chaos, and one example is the A60 Sainsbury's junction in Mansfield, where at key times people can literally be sat for hours queuing to get out of the retail park there, and residents have complained for years about this congestion, which provides access to a retail park. I've been waiting for the County Council now, working with the County Council for over a year, to get plans and costings in place to improve that junction. Final proposals have been submitted to the Department for their views. I hope ministers will look favourably on the proposals when they're submitted to the new funding scheme that I understand opened this weekend. Hopefully the Minister will touch on that in his closing remarks. A relatively small amount of funding there would have a huge impact on that area, and there are many bottlenecks like it, far away and abstract from Westminster, but really important for the local areas that they affect. And this particular one is set to get worse with the building of 2,000 homes nearby if we don't deal with something and do something effective in the short term. With new housing developments being built around Mansfield and Warsop and across Nottinghamshire, improving that transport infrastructure and linking between areas has never been so important. Just last month I visited the site of proposed developments at Spine Cop, which lies to the north of Mansfield before you reach Warsop. And it was good to see proposals there, including infrastructure and new facilities. But unless there is support there for congestion on what's already an incredibly busy road on the A60, then it's going to cause problems. So there needs to be that overall collaborative approach, working with highways and with government to deliver improved transport infrastructure. The congestion on the A60 is a very similar challenge to that of Newark, which I'll touch on behalf of my honourable friend from Newark shortly. But I know there are solutions that have come forward to that Newark congestion and the Mansfield challenge is a very similar one. There are economic opportunities from road investment in the region, including the A617, which is known as the Mansfield-Nashfield Regeneration Route, or the MAR. It has grown steadily to accommodate new housing and could expand further to support new jobs and provide a route for the increasingly heavy level of traffic that comes around Mansfield. We benefit hugely from dualling the rest of the MAR, particularly in light of positive announcement of 1,800 new jobs to be created there at Summit Park, a commercial site. And we can unlock more of that economic potential with improved transport links. There's an opportunity to divert some traffic around the town rather than plough through the middle of it. And this would also help to reduce air pollution in the town itself. I want to just take a bit of a whistle-top tour around some issues that are nearby, and not in my constituency, but as you can see, Mr Holloway, the debate today is about Nottinghamshire transport links. So I want to touch on a wider range of issues. I'm pleased that Nottinghamshire County Council has been working to unlock the economic potential of the A614 and upgrading that route, reducing congestion at Ollerton and other junctions along the route. I know my honourable friend, the member for Sherwood, has been campaigning for a long time. The Department for Transport announced last October that 18 million of funding would be allocated to the Council for those improvements that cover 6 junctions along the A614 and A6097 between Ollerton and Loudon, which aims to support planned housing developments along the route. In Newark, serious accidents on the A1 and A46 can cause frequent delays, and the interchanges there and with the A17 are particularly busy at peak times, which has a knock-on effect on the town, the cattle market roundabout, and especially when the Nottingham to Lincoln railway line crosses and everything gets stopped, sometimes for a prolonged period of time. I know the A46 Newark Northern Bypass projects will see the widening of that route and creation of a dual carriageway, raising the last section of the A46 between the A1 and M1 to expressway standard. That will make a huge difference to the town and more broadly to North Nottinghamshire. I know, again, something my honourable friend, the member for Newark, has campaigned for many years, to improve the network and to reduce congestion in the town. The County Council have been working on several important improvements, including the introduction of CCTV at 12 sets of traffic signals on the A38 in Ashfield to enable traffic to be actively managed in real time. This is Mansfield's key route to the M1 as well. It can be a bit of a nightmare. Junction 27 is also an issue. One of the features of Mansfield as a town is that, though we are very close geographically to the M1, it can sometimes be a real struggle to get there, particularly for commuters. I'd like to see more funding and support for projects that can review things like traffic light phasing and tackle localised gridlock. Of course.
He's making a valuable point about the wider road network, and he will know that inexplicable because it was unexplained at the time, a previous Labour government detrunked many roads in Nottinghamshire, where I was a county councillor, and Lincolnshire, where an MP. It's critically important that the roads that remain trunked, i.e. Highways England roads, interface with the roads for which our county council is responsible in a way that's efficient, as effective as possible. I wonder if he'd join me in calling on government, the Department of Transport, to ensure that that connection is central to their plans.
I thank my right honourable friend for that intervention. He's absolutely right. I think one of the key challenges, as I mentioned, about getting from Mansfield to the M1 is that precise thing, how the M1 and the junctions there interface with the A38 and those access routes, bringing together people like Midlands Connects who oversee the regional infrastructure and those proposals in the future is going to be really vital to make sure those things fit together and we can get the best possible efficiency from our local transport system. As I mentioned, we've got new commercial building at the Summit Business Park, and we need to look to make further improvements on the A38 and the area around Kings Mill, which is already struggling. Additional traffic, if it's not managed properly, could cause problems. So, as my right honourable friend said, the need for forward planning and collaborative working around areas like that is really important. Unlocking the economic potential of not just Mansfield but all of North Nottinghamshire would be of huge benefit and can be done with some fairly simple solutions, I think, sometimes, but it does require that forward planning. I also just wanted to mention bus services during this debate. I've had complaints from constituents about the early finish of bus routes around Mansfield. Staff working late shifts or even after 6 p.m. in many cases are unable to use buses to get home again. If you live in Forest Town, Oak Tree, Bellamy, Rainworth, areas outside of the main rail route, you can't use trains as an alternative. I'd like to see more frequent and later bus services in these areas. I hope the Council will work with my constituents to deliver. The Council spends £3.6 million to financially support more than 60 contracts on bus routes across Nottinghamshire. Many support services operate on fixed routes at peak times to get people to work and education and to doctor's surgeries. But we also need to look at other issues like the social element, isolation, and making sure that people can access their workplace at other times as well. I'm pleased to see that in Hucknall, for example, 2 new routes have been created to serve new developments, the C1 and C2 Connect services that will go across Harrier Park, Rolls-Royce, the Vaughan Estate. And on Sunday, buses will join the existing routes to make a better local infrastructure in Hucknall to serve the train station, where you can get to Nottingham or on the East Midlands train services, which is a good example of public transport connecting up with good planning and offering residents a good local service. Funding for these routes has been supported by money from developers of new housing schemes, which shows the importance of those funding arrangements and creating the transport infrastructure to support new developments. I hope the residents will use those services and they'll be viable to increase them over the coming years as well. To sum up my remarks, Mr Holloway, Mansfield is well situated to act as a commuter hub to Nottinghamshire and Sheffield. We have relatively affordable housing, some great small businesses and a historic town centre which I hope will receive funding from things like the Future High Streets Fund, the Stronger Towns Fund. I've been pleased to see Mansfield's bid to the Future High Street Fund be taken forward, which is great positive news. We could develop locally as a commuter hub, bringing in affluent young professionals who want to get on the housing ladder, enjoy the benefits of having Sherwood Forest on their doorstep. Mansfield could offer an incredible lifestyle with the right infrastructure and support. We've got huge potential to make the most of that tourist element too. Things like the Robin Hood line could connect us more closely into Sherwood Forest. We're making good progress with new hotels being built. Improving the road and rail network will encourage more visitors, which will in turn boost our local economy and support our brilliant local shops. We are, after all, the heart of the old Sherwood Forest, with countless attractions scattered across the county. It's important to aid the economic growth of post-industrial towns more broadly and across the UK to reverse the trend of aspirational young people feeling that they have to leave our towns and move away. I want to see people leaving school in Mansfield see the great potential of living and working in such a beautiful part of the world, and improving transport links is an important factor in their future decisions. Increased funding to improve transport links across Nottinghamshire is a key requirement to drive that change, and I hope the potential for a focus on regional infrastructure will come good under a new Prime Minister. It's unfortunate today that this debate coincides with the new Conservative Party leader's speech to the 1922, which I'm sure has distracted many a colleague this afternoon. But I want to end my speech by firstly thanking all of my constituents for their engagement with this debate and discussion, commenting on my Facebook post this week when I asked them to raise their key transport issues. It was clear from the responses how important these issues are to people in Mansfield and how incredibly frustrating they find some of the issues that I've raised today. And I hope the government will focus on the benefits of improving transport in our towns and across Nottinghamshire. I look forward to hearing the views from colleagues from other parts of the county about their own priorities.